have been talking about the following. Right? We have introduced what is about the managerial economics. What are the principles of making decision if you are doing business, right? We have discussed the following topics. We discussed about the goal of the firms, and we assume that the ultimate goal of the firms is to maximize the profit. And we say that to achieve the goal, the firms have to overcome some kind of constraints. Right? Then we distinguish the two important concepts. It is accounting profit and economic profit, right? Then we discuss about the role of profit and prices as a signal to allocate resources throughout the economy. And finally, we introduce the so-called the 5 forces framework to discuss about the factors that affect the profitability of an industry, namely the entry, the power of supplier, power of buyers, the rivalry, and substitute and complement. Okay, now let's move next. Another principle of effective management is to understand the incentive. Right? Imagine that you are running a firm. And of course, you can see that if you want to sell your good, you have to understand the incentive of the buyers. You have to create incentive for the buyer to encourage them to buy the goods. Okay. Another example, if you want to, if you want your workers to put their maximum effort in working, right? Of course, you once again have to construct, have to create incentive for your workers, right? So keep in mind that if you want to change someone's behavior, you have to create incentive, right? The next point is about the market. You know that talking about the market, we know that it is the place where we do have the interaction between the buyers and the seller. Strongly often the case, we say in the market, we have the interaction between the two forces, the demand and supply. Okay, pretty simple. And very important to acknowledge that the bargaining position of the consumers or the producers is going to be limited or constrained by these 3 rivalry in economic transaction. For example, the first one is called the consumer-producer rivalry. So what do we mean? You know that there will be always some kind of conflicting interest between the consumers and the producers. For example, as a consumer, we want to buy the goods at lower price, right? But the producer want to sell the good at higher price. So we have some kind of conflicting interest between the two player in the market. All right. The second type of rivalry, it is the consumer rivalry. What do we mean here? We mean that in order to get the good, the consumer will have to compete with each other, and often the case, the consumer, the one who paid the highest price, will get the good. Okay. And lastly, the rivalry between producers and producers. they have to consume to gain the market share. Yeah, how they share the market. One important economic agent that can affect the market outcome is the government. The government, what does the government do? We know that the government often regulate the market, right? Often the case, the goal of regulating the market is to improve the market outcome, right? Would you please someone give me some example of government intervention into the market? Can you give me some example of government intervention in the real world? Why do I say the government can regulate the market? What kind of policy in that implemented by the government can affect the market? What do you think? Give me some example. Understand? Please. What kind of policy? Oh, let me give you a hint. Huh? You know that, for example, you know that gasoline is a type of good that is very important for our daily life. Yeah. And the government makes some kind of intervention in this market. What kind of policy that does the government of Vietnam use to regulate the market for gasoline? Tell me, please. And do you understand the question? Hello?
Yeah.
Understand? Do you understand the question?
Yeah.
So tell me, please, how do we call the policy that employed by the Vietnamese government when they tried to regulate the market for gasoline? So I'm listening.
Yes.
I ask you, what kind of policy the Vietnamese government employed to regulate the market for gasoline?
Maybe reduce tax.
Not exactly. It is called price ceiling. Price ceiling. You already know it, right? Price ceiling. Know it? Okay. So what is price ceiling? It is the legal maximum price set on a good. Okay, so for example, in Vietnam, the Vietnamese government acknowledged that gasoline is very important, so they impose a price ceiling on this good. Okay, understand?
Okay.
All right. So what kind of policy that does the government use in the labor market that affect the labor market? How do we call it? I think that you have already learned about this in the microeconomic course. What kind of policy? Yeah. It is a hint. It is the opposite of the price ceiling policy. So, understand the question once again. Please make interaction, all right? Make interaction. Are you listening or not? I do not ask you to turn on the camera and so on, but please tell me. Okay? Make interaction. Understand the question? Do you understand the question?
Right.
What?
Foreign price.
It is called the price floor, right? Price floor. Right? Okay, price floor. And for the wage, we call it the minimum wage, right? Price floor. Right? And we call it the minimum, sorry, so my minimum wage. Understand? Okay. So keep in mind that the market is where we do have the interaction between the demand side and the supply side, right? And the government might provide some regulation. They have some tools, yeah, and you're correct, they can employ tax policy to affect the market, okay? All right, now the next point, it is the idea of recognizing the time value of money. Okay, the time value of money. Last time we have discussed about the fact that it is very important to recognize that often the case, the value of money decrease from time to time, right? Here we do have the following. If you do business, often the case, there will be a gap between the time when the costs are borne and when the benefit are received, right? Very simple. Suppose you pay the cost. Suppose we have for input in July of 2021, and you receive, you have the sale, you sell the good and receive money, all right, and receive money only in February 2022, right? So it is important to recognize that we have two time points, right? And of course, in making decision, we have to take into account the change in the value of money, right? Now, here we are going to look at some useful formula for present value analysis. Yeah, we are going to convert all the future value into present value. Right? And the formula we have is quite simple. It is this one. A PV stands for the present value of something. FV stands for the future value of something. Right? I, it is interest rate, or sometimes we call it the discount rate. Right. And N is the number of period. All right. Let's do an example. Let's do an example. Suppose your parent promised to give you a sum of money in 2025. They promised to give you 1 billion Vietnam dong, right? You want to convert this number into present value. How we will do it? What would be the present value of this amount of money? Tell me, please. How will you do it? Yeah, the information about the future value is given. It is 1 billion. 1 billion is the future value, right? Divide by 1 plus the interest rate, right? What do you think? How much is the interest rate? Which kind of interest rate can be used in our example? Hello, are you listening or not? Right. Ngọc Linh, are you here?
I'm listening.
Yes, I'm here.
Can you answer my question?
You asked what is interest rate? What kind? I think it is a prevailing interest rate.
No, I simply asked you, do you to say that in your situation, imagine you are in this situation, and I ask you which kind of interest rate you can employ, yeah, to calculate the present value of this amount of money.
Just a number?
Yes, that's a number.
10% or 7%.
10% or 7%. What do you mean 10 or 7? 10 or 7? Give me the final one.
10%.
10. Why is 10?
I just learned before and it's normally 10.
Normally 10, right? You expect to be 10. Okay. Any other one? Who want to answer my question? Remember that you are learning. You are learning in banking academy, right? You are learning in banking academy. Okay. You have. I think you should have some kind of intuition in answering this type of question. It's pretty simple question. Pretty simple question. Ôi. Em có nghe, có theo dõi buổi học không nhỉ? Xin lỗi nói thật, không các em không trả lời, chả biết được các em làm gì.
Có.
Câu hỏi thì hỏi đơn giản mà. Chỗ nào không hiểu thì phải hỏi, các em phải hỏi lại chứ. Chỗ nào không hiểu thì phải hỏi lại chứ. Thì hỏi câu hỏi đơn giản. Ví dụ chúng ta ở đây chúng ta phải đặt một cái bài toán, đúng không? Tức là chúng ta phải tính về giá trị hiện tại, biết cái giá trị tương lai là 1 tỷ, quy đổi giá trị hiện tại, thì chúng ta phải sử dụng cái lãi suất nào đấy. Thế thầy hỏi các em là lãi suất đó thì các em sử dụng lãi suất nào? Em là người học ở ngân hàng mà, trường ngân hàng mà, em sử dụng lãi suất nào? Có nào có câu trả lời không?
Lãi suất lạm phát đó.
Ui giời, cái lãi suất lạm lãi suất gì em? Không có khái niệm lãi suất lạm phát em ạ.
Không phải là lãi suất tiền gửi à?
Thường thì lãi suất tiền gửi. Theo em hiểu bây giờ lãi suất tiền gửi bao nhiêu %? Đúng rồi, sử dụng lãi suất tiền gửi.
4
Thì
đến
sử
5
dụng lãi suất tiền gửi bao nhiêu?
7%.
Đấy 6 hoặc 7. Bao nhiêu?
Sẽ là tầm 6 hoặc 7%.
Đúng rồi, 6 hoặc 7%. Vậy thì y ở đây nó bằng khoảng cho là 7%, đúng không? Thế còn n ở đây sẽ là cái gì? Bằng bao nhiêu?
bằng 3.
N ở đây bằng 3, bằng số 5, đúng không? Đấy là cách mà chúng ta tính ra cái giá trị hiện tại của khoản tiền 1 tỷ năm 2025. Ok. Right. So in general we have we can derive the following formula. We have the present value is equal the future value, subtract the opportunity cost of waiting. Yeah, the opportunity cost of waiting. And of course, if you once again go back to the our example, you can compute the present value. You can compute the future value. Yeah, the future value actually it is given. It is 1 billion. 1 billion. So you can compute the opportunity cost of waiting. Okay, it is a difference between PV and FV. Or in other words, we can rewrite OCW is equal FV subtract PV. Okay. Now the next point, suppose we have many periods. We have many periods, many years, for example, right? And if we have many periods, then the present value of a stream of future value is going to be calculated in the following way. What is this one? Okay, it is the present value of period 1. Okay, this one is going to be the present value of period 2. Okay, understand? See it?
Yes.
Right. And lastly, it is the present value of the future amount of the period n. Yeah, of the period n. Okay. So you have this formula. Yeah. PV is equal sigma for t equal 1 to n FVT divided by 1 plus t to the power of n. All right, this one. Okay. Now let's move next. Here's our example. Here we have a pretty simple example. We have a project that give you a returns according to the following income stream. We have 3 years, 1, 2, 3. In the first year, it give you $10,000 of return, right? In the second year, it give you 15. In the third year, it give you 100, right? Suppose we have the annual interest rate is 3%, right? And the goal, the task, is to compute the present value of this income stream. So here it is. Here is the present value of $10,000 in the first year. All right. Here is the present value of the second year, and so on. And finally, it will have the present value of the project that give you returns for 3 years. Yeah, this amount of money. Okay, understand? Any question? No? Pretty simple, right? Okay.
Yes.
Now, the next point is about the so-called the NPV, the net present value. Often the case when you make an investment, for example, right? It involves the cost of doing something, right? So we have to compute, here it is, the present value of future benefit, right? The present value of future benefit, right? And here is the cost of making investment. C stands for the cost of the project, right? And the rule of making or not making an investment is pretty simple. We should have which kind of value of NPV? What number of NPV we should have? What do you think? you are going to invest. Yeah, you are going to invest if NPV is positive, yeah, is greater than 0. Yeah, pretty simple. You are going to invest if your NPV is positive, and of course you should not invest, you should not make investment if you have negative NPV. Okay, so pretty simple. Now let's move next. Here we are going to have the present value of infinitely lived access. All right. For example, the stock of a company. For example, stock of a company. Right. We have the following. Suppose the access generate cash flow for each period. For example, each year you receive a cash flow. Right? We denote CF0 for the current period, the cash flow in current period. CF1 divided by 1 plus I, it is the present value of cash flow in the period 1. Okay, understand what I'm saying? It is the present value of cash flow in period 1. Understand? Okay. Here is for the second period. Here is for the third period, and so on to infinity. To infinity, right? To simplify this formula, we further make the following assumption. We further make the following assumption. We assume that we have the same cash flow each year. CF1, it means that CF1 equal to CF2 equal to CF3 equal to CFN, so on. Yeah, and we denote CF. Okay. And we assume that CF0 is equal to 1 to 0. Yeah, no current cash flow. Yeah, it will have cash flow only in the next year. Okay, based on these two assumptions, we can have the present value of an indefinitely lived access, or here we say the present value of a perpetuity is going to be equal the cash flow of each year, yeah, of each period divided by the interest rate, All right. Now let me give you an example for this, yeah? A concrete example for this. Would you please someone tell me, someone in the class, do you know the earning per share? Have you ever listened about this? EPS, earning per share. Have you ever listened about this? Have you ever heard about this? Anyone? Someone interested in the stock market exchange? Not? My question is very simple. Yes or no, right? You know it or you do not know it, right?
I know it.
Huh? Someone know it? Okay. Earning per share. What is it? What is it? The earning per share, it tells us about the profitability profitability of a stock for a given period. All right. Suppose you have the following information. We have firm A, and in the year of 2021, right? This firm have the earning per share EPS of 5,000 Vietnam dong. 5,000 Vietnam dong. All right. How did they compute this amount of EPS? Pretty simple. They take the profit of this firm in 2021, right? Divided by the total quantity of share in circulation. Understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Okay, and they get the EPS, right? And it tells us, once again, I want to stress on this point, it tells us about the profitability of a stock for the year of 2021, right? Now, I want you to do the following. Please use the formula we have. Use the formula we have to compute the correct or the fair price for this stock. Okay, understand the question? Understand my question? Do you understand my question? Or you need a better explanation? All right, I'm going to explain in Vietnamese. Ví dụ như các em nếu đọc báo hoặc nếu đọc báo liên quan đến tài chính, chứng khoán, người ta hay nhắc cái số liệu đó là EPS, đó là khả năng sinh lời trên mỗi cổ phiếu. Thông thường nó tính theo năm. Ví dụ như một doanh nghiệp A nào đó có EPS năm 2021 là 5.000 đồng đó, thì nó thể hiện là trong năm 2021 tính trung bình trên mỗi cổ phiếu thì doanh nghiệp có được lợi nhuận là 5.000. Nó dựa trên công thức khá đơn giản, là tính lấy tổng lợi nhuận năm 2021 này chia cho tổng số lượng cổ phiếu. Điểm này các em hiểu chưa nhỉ? Rồi. Thì chính từ lý do này nên cái số EPS nó sẽ phản ánh cái khả năng sinh lời của cổ phiếu trong cái khoảng thời gian nào đó. Ví dụ đây là năm 2021. Cái bài toán mà thầy đặt câu hỏi với em là dựa trên cái dữ liệu này, thì chúng ta thử nghĩ xem là liệu chúng ta có thể tính được một cái mức giá mà giá được gọi giá hợp lý, fair price, cho cái cổ phiếu của doanh nghiệp này dựa trên cái công thức mà chúng ta vừa học. Đây thì chiếu lại dựa trên công thức này. Cash flow ở đây nó sẽ là cái gì? Cash flow ở đây chính là EPS, đúng không? Có hiểu không nhỉ? Ok, EPS mà nó chính là 5.000, đúng không? Thế còn present value ở đây nó chính là price, tức là giá của cổ phiếu đấy, đúng không? Vậy cái mà chúng ta cần tính. Vậy thì cái thông tin mà các em cần sử dụng thêm nữa ở đây sẽ là cái gì? Có thông tin mà chúng ta cần thu thập là cái gì? là interest rate, đúng không? Hiểu không nhỉ?
Vâng ạ.
Rồi, cái giả sử chúng ta giả định là interest rate là 7%, 7%. Vậy thì fair price mà thầy nhắc đến nó sẽ là bao nhiêu?
71.428.
7 sắp xỉ khoảng 71.000 đúng không? Sắp xỉ 71.000. Sắp xỉ 71.000 đồng. Đó. Thế tức là gì? Ý tưởng của nó này, ý tưởng của nó đơn giản này, em bỏ 71.000 ra để mua cổ phiếu này, đúng không? Thì hàng năm nó sẽ mang về cho em bao nhiêu? 5.000. Đó. Với cái giả định là cái interest rate mà chúng ta sử dụng là bao nhiêu? Là 7%. Đương nhiên là nếu mà chúng ta sử dụng cái lãi suất khác, ví dụ như lãi suất chỉ là 5% chẳng hạn, lãi suất trên thị trường tiền tệ chỉ là 5% chẳng hạn, đúng không? Thì fair price nó sẽ là bao nhiêu?
100.000.
Sẽ là 100.000. Bây giờ chúng ta sẽ xem một cái ứng dụng rất là đơn giản của cái logic này. Thầy lấy ví dụ nhé. Let's take a look at an example, right? Here we have the stock of Apple, right? Here's the price, $172, right? And if I look at the financial information for the Apple company, right? What is it? Here's the EPS. Can you see the EPS? See it?
Yes.
You can see that 5.67. 5.67 is the EPS of Apple stock for the year of 2021, last year, right? For the year of 2020, the EPS of Apple is 3.3, right? 3.3. Now let's do the computation again. Let's do the computation again. We are looking at the case of Apple, right? In the year of 2021, let's assume that at the end of the year 2021, the stock price of Apple, right, is equal 170 US dollars, right? What's next? We know that the EPS of Apple in 2021 is 5.67, right? Suppose the interest rate in US is 5%. All right. So based on this, of course, firstly, you can compute that what I call the fair price for the Apple stock. Yeah. How much?
$113.
113, right?
Yes.
Right. So you compare what we call the fair price with the current price. Okay. Would you please tell me, if we have only these two pieces of information, we can say the price for the share of Apple is overvalued, or undervalued. What do you think? Overvalue định giá quá cao, undervalue định giá quá thấp. We say it is overvalue or undervalue. What do you think?
It's overvalue.
Yeah, if we have this information, we can say that it might be overvalue, right? So if what does it mean? You should be careful. You should quite be careful if you are about to make decision of buying or not buying the share of Apple. Understand my point? Understand?
Yes.
Okay. Let's have before moving to the next discussion, I want you to pay attention on the following. You can see that the number of fair price that I have mentioned about 113 is based on the following assumption. The assumption that the cash flow is constant, the same cash flow for every year in the future. Understand? Okay. Do you understand?
Yes.
It is an assumption. In reality, it might not hold. Okay. So, for example, next year may be often the case. The Apple company is expecting to have the EPS of $7, for example. Understand? Not 5.60, not 5.67, but $7, right? And you can see that our computation based on the assumption that the interest rate in US is 5%. Okay, is 5%. And you can see that if I say the interest rate in US is 3% only, 3% only, then you can see that the fair price would change. And you can see it will increase or decrease. What do you think? If the interest rate decrease, right, then the price will, the fair price, you know, example, increase. Yeah, and if you compute again, what is the new fair price? Please do it, right? With the interest rate of 3%. What is the, yeah, go on. $200. I don't believe that it should be.
It's 189.
Yeah, 189. Okay, so you can see that if the current price is 170, okay, then by using the different interest rate, our conclusion would change. Understand? You see? Yeah. With the interest rate of 5%, yeah, we say it is a case of overvaluation, right? If the interest rate of 3%, we have the conclusion of undervalue, right? And if it is overvalued, the suggestion would be made is to sell, right? If it is undervalued, the suggestion for investor is to buy. Understand my point?
Yes.
Okay, that's good. Now let's move next to another example. Let's take a look. Tell me a bank that you are interested in. Give me the name of the bank that you are interested in. What? Techcombank, right? This TCB, okay. All right, here it is. All right, so today you can see that the price is 53.7. The EPS of Techcombank is 4.85. 4.85. To make it simple, let's assume that the normal interest rate in Vietnam is 7%. So please tell me the fair price for the stock of Techcombank, of TCB. Let's compute.
69.
69. Okay, 69. So if we compare the current price with the 69 that we say might be the fair price, okay, you can make what kind of conclusion?
The price of Techcombank is underrated.
Yeah, it is underrated. Yeah, and maybe we should buy it. We should buy it. Okay, but of course you can see that the player in the stock market are not fool, right? They are smart people. What do you think? What are some other information that we should take into account in making the purchasing decision of a stock? What do you think? Of course, not only based on the EPS and the current price, of course, right? I give you a hint. You can see that the EPS of 4.85 is for the year of 2021, right? The current price our computation is based on the assumption that for every years in the future, the Techcombank will make exactly the same EPS. Understand this point? Do you understand my point? Yeah, we made the assumption that TCB will have the same EPS for every year in the future. Okay? You understand my point?
Yes.
Tức là các hiểu cái điểm mà thầy vừa nói không nhỉ? Tức là cái tính toán của chúng ta về cái con số 69.000 của chúng ta tính lúc nãy ấy, nó dựa trên cái giả định, đúng không? Rằng là Techcombank sẽ kiếm được 4.850 đồng trên mỗi cổ phiếu trong những năm tiếp theo, đúng không? Hiểu luận điểm này không? Thì cái giả định đó có thể là không chính xác, đúng không? Thì muốn biết thì chúng ta có thể đưa ra những cái ví dụ như các em để mà ra quyết định là liệu có nên mua cổ phiếu của TCB không, thì các em thử nghĩ xem là mình có thể sử dụng thông tin nào khác để đưa ra quyết định nhỉ? Sử dụng bổ sung thêm những thông tin nào khác. Ví dụ như các em có thể sử dụng thông tin nào? Ví dụ có thể so sánh EPS, đúng không? Của Techcombank so với các năm trước. Có hiểu ý tưởng nhỉ? Nhìn vào lịch sử, đúng không? Xem lợi nhuận trên mỗi cổ phiếu của ngân hàng này trong lịch sử nó như thế nào. Đó. Thì chúng ta còn có thể sử dụng thông tin nào nữa nhỉ? Nghĩ xem. Đây thầy lấy ví dụ nhé. Ví dụ như em có nhìn thấy cái đồ thị này không nhỉ? Để phóng to là em nhìn thấy đồ thị này không nhỉ?
Có.
Ví dụ như em thấy là cổ phiếu của Techcombank nó tăng mạnh và đột biến ở trong giai đoạn nào? Trong giai đoạn nào nhỉ?
đầu từ cuối năm 2020.
Đúng rồi, nó bắt đầu từ khoảng tháng 9, tháng 10 gì đó năm 2020 đó, và đạt đỉnh là tháng 7 năm 2021 đó. Đấy. Thế vậy thì ví dụ như người thông thường người ta sẽ nhìn vào người ta sẽ nhìn vào là xem trong cái lịch sử hoạt động của cái giai đoạn đấy có cái điều gì nó nào đó bất thường xảy ra, nó khiến cho lợi nhuận của ngân hàng này nó tăng mạnh hay không. Rồi tiếp theo nữa là người ta có thể so sánh với cái gì, ví dụ người ta có một cái logic để so sánh là so sánh theo không gian này, và so sánh so sánh theo thời gian này, và so sánh theo không gian. Thế nào là so sánh theo không gian? Ví dụ so sánh theo thời gian chúng ta hiểu là nhìn vào dữ liệu quá khứ, đúng không? Thế còn so sánh theo không gian thì chúng ta so sánh nào? Là chúng ta so sánh Techcombank với những doanh nghiệp khác, đúng không? Thì chúng ta nên so sánh theo em hiểu nên so sánh với những doanh nghiệp nào?
Doanh nghiệp cùng ngành.
Đúng rồi, đương nhiên là chúng ta phải so sánh với doanh nghiệp cùng ngành, đúng không? Để mà biết là cái mức EPS bình quân của Techcombank trong năm 2021 này nó có bình thường hay là không? Em hiểu không nhỉ? Hiểu cái luận điểm này không nhỉ? Hả? Đúng rồi. Nếu ví dụ như em so sánh với ngân hàng nào, em đọc tên để thầy tìm vào đây.
Vietcombank.
Vietcombank, VCB, đúng không? VCB là ngân hàng mà được coi là một trong những ngân hàng hiệu quả nhất, đúng không? Trước đấy 5.700, ok, cao hơn là Tech. Rồi ngân hàng nào nữa?
Vietinbank.
CTG, đúng không? Vietin 3.400. Rồi nào nữa?
MB Bank.
MB Bank, em có vẻ chỉ biết loanh quanh luẩn quẩn với ngân hàng này đúng không? Ok, 2.900. Tiếp thêm một câu vài cái nữa.
VIP Bank.
Tiền Phong Bank.
Rồi chúng ta sẽ VIP trước, sau đó Tiên Phong. VIP 3.600, Tiên Phong Bank, TP, đúng không? 4.300. Rồi. Thế như vậy các em có thể thấy cái cảm nhận chung của em là gì? Là EPS của Techcombank so với các doanh nghiệp cùng ngành trong cùng năm là cao hơn trung bình hay thấp hơn trung bình?
Cao hơn trung bình.
Là cao hơn trung bình. Thế như vậy thì rõ ràng là việc chúng ta giả định rằng là trong những năm tiếp theo Techcombank vẫn giữ được cái mức khoảng 4.800 đấy, đúng không? Giả định đó nó được coi là quá lạc quan hay là quá bi quan? Theo em được coi là quá lạc quan hay quá bi quan? Nếu mà chúng ta hiểu là những ngân hàng cổ phần tư nhân tầm trung ấy thì họ sẽ hội tụ về một cái ngưỡng nhất định. Theo em là quá lạc quan hay quá bi quan? Thì nó đang cao hơn ở cái mức trung bình so với các ngân hàng khác, đúng không? Em có nhìn thấy không nhỉ? Cao hơn TP, đúng không? Cao hơn CTG, cao hơn MB, vân vân. Như vậy thì đang được coi là lạc quan hay là quá lạc quan hay là quá bi quan? Alo?
Lạc quan ạ.
Thì có vẻ như là chúng ta hơi lạc quan, đúng không? Và đó là lý do tại sao mà ý mà thầy muốn nói là có thể là người ta không thực sự tin rằng, có thể các nhà đầu tư người ta không thực sự tin rằng EPS của Techcombank có thể tiếp tục được duy trì ở cái ngưỡng là khoảng 4.800 trong năm tiếp theo. mà có thể người ta dự đoán là nó có thể giảm xuống. Và đó là lý do tại sao mà cái mức giá mà cổ phiếu này được giao dịch trên thị trường thì nó chỉ ở khoảng 53.000 chứ không ra được con số là 69.000 như chúng ta tính toán, đúng không? Thế như vậy ở đây thì nhắc lại nhé, tất nhiên những cái lập luận ở đây mà chúng ta sử dụng nãy giờ ấy, nó mới là những cái lập luận tương đối cơ bản. Như thầy nói là để mà ra quyết định thì người ta phải sử dụng nhiều thông tin hơn, đúng không? Thì tuy nhiên cái mà thầy muốn đề cập đến ấy là với những cái công thức đơn giản mà chúng ta học ở đây thì nó hoàn toàn có những cái ứng dụng rất là thực tiễn để các em có thể tham khảo, để mà tham khảo và đưa ra quyết định, đúng. Ví dụ như các em có thể tìm, lát nữa các em có thể tự tìm, ví dụ như các em có thể tìm cái EPS của Vietjet chẳng hạn, đó. Có biết Vietjet không nhỉ? Và cũng thử tính xem cái fair price của Vietjet là bao nhiêu đó. Ví dụ hay là của Vietnam Airlines chẳng hạn, các em có thể tính để chúng ta đưa ra những cảm nhận ban đầu của mình về cái đặc thù của các ngành đó. Và chắc chắn là các em sẽ nhìn thấy một cái điều gì đó đặc biệt nếu mà các em tính toán cái chỉ số tương tự cho Vietjet. Ok, rồi thì chúng ta nghỉ khoảng 10 phút rồi sau đó chúng ta quay lại, nghỉ 10 phút nhé. All right, let's go back. Let's go back, right? Right, so based on a discussion later on, you can see that the goal of the firms about profit maximization is essentially equal to the goal of maximizing the present value of the firms. Our discussion will be based on the following formula. We have the following. Here's PV, yeah, the present value of the firm. Right? We have pi 0 is denoted for the current profit. We assume that no dividend paid out and expected to be paid. Right? Do you know what is dividend? Do you know? In Vietnamese?
Cổ tức.
Yes. Yeah, we assume that the company does not pay dividend to the shareholder, right? Furthermore, we assume that the profit will grow at the rate of G, and G is a constant. G is a constant, right? And lastly, we assume that G is smaller than I. So the profit growth rate is smaller than I, than the interest rate, right? If you look at this formula, yeah, pi 0, the current profit, here is, what is it? It is the present value of the profit in year 1, yeah, next year, right? Here it is, once again, the present value of the profit in year 2. Okay, understand? See it? Do you understand?
Yes.
All right. And using this assumption, we finally will have this formula. The present value of the firms will be equal pi 0 multiplied by 1 plus I divided by 1 by I minus G. I minus G. Why do we have this one? Pretty simple. For the one who do not know about this, we have the infinite geometric series, right? And we have the following rule, right? 1 plus x squared, right? And so on to infinity is equal 1 divided by 1 minus x. Do you know this one? Do you know this rule? Know it? Conditionally, for x is greater than minus 1 and smaller than 1. Do you know this one? This mathematical formula, do you know it? Know this? Hello?
No.
Maybe
Right.
we forgot.
No, not really. No, let's say, no, let's take, let me give you an example. Suppose we have x is equal to 1 divided by 10, right? So 1 plus 1 divided by 10, 1 divided by 10 square, and so on is going to be equal 1. Subtract 1 minus 0.1, and it is going to be equal 10. All right? See it? So in our formula, this is x. You see it? Okay? See it? Right?
Yes.
And why we need the condition of g to be smaller than I? Because if g smaller than I, right, then x is going to be smaller than 1. You see it? Did you see it?
Yes.
Okay, so we subtract, we plug in the formula, and finally we can derive this one. Okay, the present value of the firms equal current profit times this one. Okay, now let's move on. Suppose we have the following assumption. We assume that the dividend immediately paid out of the current profit. Yeah, so based on the earning, the profit, the firms will pay the dividend to the shareholder, right? Now we can compute the present value of the firm after paying down the dividend. Yeah, and pretty simple. It is PV of the firm subtract the current profit, and you will get this one. Okay, pretty simple. I'm going to write down for you to better memorize. So the present value of the firms P0, yeah, times 1 plus I divided by I minus G. Okay, so we have subtract the current profit, subtract 0. Okay, so we have P0, 1 plus I divided by I minus G minus 1. Okay, see, and this one is essentially this one. Okay, are you okay? You can see it?
Yes.
All right. Now let's go on. So based on our formula, we can observe the following. If the growth rate in the profit is less than the interest rate, and both of them are constant and do not change, then the problems of maximizing current profit is the same as maximizing long-term profit. Okay, what do we mean? We mean that if the firms want to maximize the present value, it should maximize the current profit given the constant rate of G and interest rate of I. Okay, we assume that G and I are constant. Okay, then it means maximizing present value is maximizing current profit. Okay, now the next point is the application of the marginal analysis. I hope that last time I have talked about this. It is the rule of FB equal to MC. Yeah, if we want to maximize the profit, right? You know that when a firm stay in business, they have to make some kind of decision. Recall that in perfect competition, yeah, in perfect competition, you know that the firms have to take the price as given, the price as given. Or in other words, we say the firms in perfect competition are to be called the price takers. Remember it? Remember it? Once again, no? In perfect competition, I say the firm takes the price as given, and they are called price taker. Do you understand this point?
Yes.
Thì nhắc lại nhé, trong thị trường cạnh tranh hoàn hảo, đúng không? Thì doanh nghiệp là những người mà chúng ta gọi là những người nào? Là những người chấp nhận giá. Các em có hiểu không nhỉ? Tức là họ phải chấp nhận cái giá thị trường, họ không ra quyết định về giá. Ok? So the firms is not going to doesn't make price decision. Understand this point, right?
Yes.
Okay, and you can see that the two very important variable for the firms are the price and the quantity. Okay, so if we assume that they do not control the price, and of course they have to pay more attention on choosing the quantity of output, on choosing Q. Okay, so here we assume that the firm have the control variable of it is Q. Yeah, Q is the quantity of output. Okay, the quantity of output. Then we have the following. Suppose we have the total benefit for the firms is BQ. And you can see, and in many instances, you can see that the benefit of the firms can be measured as the revenue. Okay, you can imagine it as the revenue of the firms. BQ, yeah, it means that the benefit is affected by the quantity of output. And here is the total cost function, CQ, right? Now, the goal or the objective of the manager is to maximize the net benefit. N is a function of Q. And N is equal BQ minus CQ. Okay, and you can imagine that NQ is the profit for the firm. Okay, are you okay with what I'm saying? Understand it? Okay, understand it? Understand why I say net benefit is profit? Do you understand? Because net benefit, it is equal revenue minus the cost to the firm. Okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Right. Now let's move next. How do we use the marginal analysis? Pretty simple. Recall that we have the marginal benefit is a function of quantity of output, and B is a function of Q. All right. And here's the definition of marginal benefit. It is defined as a change in total benefit rising from the change in the quantity of output. So in other words, we say MB is equal delta B divided by delta Q, right? And similarly, we have the marginal cost, right? It is defined as a change in the total cost given the due to the change in the quantity, right? And we have the marginal net benefit, M and B. It is equal MB minus MC. And pretty simple, quite intuitively, you can see that the goal of the firms is to maximize the net benefit, right? Maximize N. So they will achieve the goal when the marginal net benefit is equal to 0. Okay, see? And it happened when we have MB equal to MC. Okay. Now let's take a look at a numerical example. Let's take a look at this example. Suppose we have the following information about the benefit and the cost for a firm. All right, here's the benefit, here's the cost. First, we are asked to find the MB and MC function. Recall that MB is the derivative of the benefit function. Remember this point. Remember it? Hello? Hello? Có nhớ lợi ích cận biên là đạo hàm của hàm lợi ích theo sản lượng không nhỉ? Okay, so we plug in, we have MB is equal, yeah, 250 minus 8Q. See it? Right? The same is true for the marginal cost. It is a derivative of the cost function. And we have MC equal to Q. All right. So we have the marginal net benefit, right? Is going to be equal MB minus MC, right? And we will achieve the goal of maximizing the net profit when the MNB equal to 0, right? We solve this equation and we will find the quantity of output that give us the maximum of net benefit. Understand? Specifically, here is the answer for the question. You will find that the quantity of output that maximize the profit is going to be 25 if we solve this equation, right? Now, let's take a look at the graph to graph the key point graphically. Here is the quantity, our control variable. Here is the total benefit or total cost measured in the terms of money, in dollar amount. Yeah. If you look at this graph, you can see that here is the benefit curve, here is the cost curve, right? And based on what we have discussed about, you can see that the marginal benefit, when I say it is a derivative of the benefit function, then it means that the marginal benefit, it is the slope of the benefit curve. Do you understand this point? Understand?
Yes.
We have MC is the derivative of cost function. So marginal cost is the slope of the cost curve. All right. Now let's take a look at the slope of the benefit curve. You can see that initially it is increasing. It is increasing. See? Then it is decreasing. Okay? Here's decreasing, is increasing. For the cost function, you can see that it is increasing. All right? The slope of the cost curve is increasing. All right? Now let's take a look. Here you can see that I have the point of intersection between the cost curve and the benefit curve, this point. At this point, corresponding to this point, I have a quantity. Suppose I denoted it as Q1. Okay. So please tell me something about the Q1. What do we have at Q1? What do we have at Q1? Tell me something. Pretty simple, pretty simple. We can see that at Q1, we have the we have the benefit, the total benefit equal to the total cost, right? So what does it mean? What does it mean? It means that the net benefit is going to be equal to 0. Do you understand? Or in other words, to say the profit is 0. Okay?
Yes.
Are you okay? Right? See? Right. Right. Now let's pay attention on this point. On this graph, it is denoted as the point at which we have the quantity. Suppose I denote it as Q2 when the firm has achieved the goal, not the goal of maximizing profit, but the goal of maximizing total benefit. Or you can see that they maximize revenue. Yeah, maximizing revenue. Tell me something about the characteristics of this point. And the hint, it is related with the marginal benefit. It is related with MB. What kind of MB we have at this point? Anyone?
Positive and greater than MC.
Yeah, you're correct. I'm asking about the point of Q2. At Q2, what do we have? The value of MB, of marginal benefit. It is equal to 0. See it? Yeah. It is the slope of the tangent line to the benefit curve. Yeah. See it? Okay. Em có hiểu nhỉ? Nó chính là hệ số góc của cái đường tiếp tuyến qua cái điểm này. Đó. Với cái đường lợi ích và nó là đường song song với trục ngang. Như vậy hệ số góc nó bằng 0. Hiểu không nhỉ?
Vâng ạ.
Okay. You can see that before this point, we have marginal benefit is greater than 0. After this point, we have marginal benefit is going to be negative, right? So pay attention on that. You can find the point when the when the total benefit is maximized. But you can see that this point is not the point that give you the maximum of profit. Yeah, it gives you the maximum of revenue only, not the maximum of profit. How do we find the point that give us the maximum of profit? All right, let's move next. In order to have the maximum of profit, we have to find the quantity where we have MQ of this quantity, MQ star, for example, equal to the marginal cost at this point. Okay, and you can see that on this graph, it is this point. All right, this point, Q star, right? Understand it? Yeah, you can see that the gap between these two curves, the BQ and BC curve, is maximized, is the largest. Okay, and that's why we say here's a maximum net benefit. Okay, and here we have the profit is maximized. Right? Understand? Okay. Em có hiểu không? Để thầy chỗ nào không hiểu các em có hỏi. Có hiểu không nhỉ? Hello? Không hiểu lắm cái nào nhỉ? Ví dụ như cái slope, tức là cái hệ số góc của cái đường lợi ích tại cái điểm này, nó chính là hệ số góc của cái đường tiếp tuyến, đúng không? Hoặc là cái đường tiếp tuyến ở đây và ở đây nó song song với nhau. Anh em học toán thì biết là hai đường thẳng song song với nhau khi nào? Không nhớ à?
Nó không có
ví dụ
điểm.
như hai đường thẳng nó song song với nhau khi nào? Khi mà hệ số góc của nó là bằng nhau, có nhớ không nhỉ? Đúng không? Thế hai đường thẳng này nó song song. Đây, hai đường thẳng này nó song song thì MB nó bằng với MC. Tại đó chúng ta tìm được cái mức sản lượng mà có thể tối đa hóa lợi ích dòng, hay nói cách khác là tối đa hóa lợi nhuận của doanh nghiệp. Ok. Ra cái bài toán này anh em có thể thấy nó giống như cái bài toán như này. Ví dụ đây là mặt nước này, đây là cây cầu này, đây là cây cầu, đúng không? Và người ta hỏi em là tại điểm nào trên cầu thì chúng ta có khoảng cách lớn nhất đối với mặt nước. Nhưng đương nhiên nó là cái điểm mà tại đó cái đường tiếp tuyến với cây cầu nó song song với mặt nước, thì cái khoảng cách nó sẽ là lớn nhất. Có hiểu bài toán này không nhỉ?
Có.
Đấy, cái logic ở đây thì nó cũng thế thôi. Khoảng cách này là lớn nhất, maximum net benefit. Alright. Okay, so here's the next graph. Here on the y-axis, I have net benefit. Here's the Q, yeah, and here's the net benefit curve, right? And you can see that the net benefit equal to 0 when the benefit equal to the cost, right? And the net benefit is maximum when the slope, right, is 0, and it means the M and B equal to 0, right? Here it is, M and B equal to 0. Now let's move to the final graph. Here is the marginal benefit that was sloping, right? Here is the marginal cost, and we know that at the quantity that corresponding to the point of intersection between these two curves, we have the quantity that's maximize the profit, right? Maximize net benefit. And here is the marginal net benefit, the marginal net benefit, all right? And you can see that it is downward sloping, yeah? And the marginal net benefit essentially can be turned to be a negative if the firms produce too much. For example, at this point, for example, right? Which is Q1, which is greater than Q star, right? And you can see that it will give the firms a negative marginal net benefit, yeah, which means they have a loss if they produce much more than the optimal quantity, right? So here is the figure that summarizes all of our discussion. And the key point, once again, is pretty simple. We have to find the quantity, yeah? When we have the marginal benefit equal to the marginal cost. A pretty simple rule, right? For profit maximization, yeah? To determine the optimal level of output. All right. Now let's once again summarize a pretty simple rule. If you have to make something, some decision in the form of yes or no, yeah, yes or no, you will say yes when your marginal benefit is greater than marginal cost. You will say no if the MB is smaller than an MC. Okay, pretty simple. Right. Now let's move to the last point. The last principle of effective decision making is to use data, make data-driven decision, right? Did you have the course of something like econometric or statistics? Did you have one? Em học môn kinh tế lượng hay là thống kê chưa nhỉ?
Học thống kê ạ.
À, học thống kê rồi gì? Chưa về lý lượng này. Ví dụ như những khái niệm như là linear regression, em có biết không nhỉ? Hồi quy tuyến tính. Biết không nhỉ? Ví dụ cụm từ như là regression analysis, regression method, nghe bao giờ chưa nhỉ? Phương trình hồi quy, những cái khái niệm đó các em nghe chưa nhỉ? Chắc trong thống kê các em chắc có học rồi chứ nhỉ?
Chị học qua như thế.
Qua rồi chị, okay. So the idea is following. If you want to be a good manager, yeah, a manager for a big company, yeah, let's say you want to manage a big company. Of course, you will have to make your decision based on collected data. For example, you collect data about the quantity, about the price, about the income, about advertising, about the price of competitors, and based on this, you will make the appropriate decision. Okay, and you can see that often the case in a company, the top management often hires somebody like data analysis for doing data analysis, right? And to make the so-called informed decision, right? Well, let's get some intuition about what is regression. The idea is following. Suppose you can have the following. You are running a company and you are curious about the relationship between the price and the quantity demanded. You collect data. Yeah, you collect data. and the data about the price and about quantity. Okay, you have many, right? So we have, suppose you have the following, right? Following data. You can see that it quite spurious, right? But using the so-called regression, they're going to draw that so-called the best fit line, right? Suppose you have this one. This one is called the best fit line, right? The best line that fit with the data. And this best fit line give you a hint about the relationship between the price and the quantity demanded, right? If you look at this line, you can see that it is downward sloping, and it gives you a hint about a negative relationship between the price of your good and the quantity demanded. And of course, it tells us that according to the data, it follows the law of demand. Okay, the law of demand, right? Now let's put it differently. Suppose, once again, here is the quantity demanded, here is the amount of money that you spend on advertising. Advertising. What kind of best fit line you expect to have in the relationship between advertising and quantity demanded? A positive relationship or negative relationship? Once again, tell me please, what kind of relationship you are expecting to have based on data? Em có hiểu câu hỏi không nhỉ?
It's positive.
Yeah, you're expecting to have a positive. Suppose you have some data. It looks like this. And through this point, you have a best fit line. And it tells you about a positive relationship between advertising spending and quantitative demanded, right? So if you have this relationship, it tells you that your spending on advertising is effective, and maybe you should spend more on advertising, right? So that's it, pretty simple. Here is an example. You have the quantity, you have the information about the price, you have, suppose you have advertising, you have the price of competitors, all of this information. And of course, you can run a regression, even in some program like Excel, right? Like Excel, right? Well, for example, here we have the two columns, right? And this one, the quantity demanded, is the dependent variable. Here is the independent variable, our control variable. And if you run the regression, you will find it is the coefficient. And you can see that this number is negative, right? And it gives you a hint about the negative relationship between the price and the quantity demanded, right? Do you know something about T statistic and P value? You know it?
Yes.
All right, that's good. And if you look at the T statistic or P value, you can see that based on a sample, yeah, you can see that it gives us some kind of evidence to believe that this relationship is true. Yeah, it gives us some evidence to believe that this relationship is true. Yeah? We have some kind of confidence that this is true. So based on this, you can write down your estimated demand function. Yeah, and of course, as I told you before, if you have more information, suppose you have alpha is a coefficient for advertising, right? You have something like gamma for the coefficient of something like price of competitor. Yeah, so we can see that we expect that the alpha coefficient should be positive. All right. My question, suppose gamma, here we have, it is the coefficient for the price of your competitors. What is the sign you are expecting? It should be negative or positive. What do you think? Look, let's say here's demand for iPhone, right? We are learning about the demand for iPhone, and the competitors, the price of competitor is, let's say, the price of Samsung, right? Samsung. So what is the sign of gamma you're expecting? Understand my question? Understand? Right. Let me ask the question differently. Suppose you know that in microeconomics you can have two goods, can be a supplement or a complement, sorry, complement or substitute, right? My question, iPhone and Samsung, they are complement or substitute?
Substitute.
Yeah, they are substitute. So if the price of Samsung go up, yeah, what would happen to the quantity demanded for iPhone?
The quantity increase.
Yeah, the quantity demanded for iPhone should increase. So we expect that gamma should be negative or positive. Should be positive, see? Okay? Understand? Yeah? The price of competitors go up, the quantity demanded for your good will go up. Understand? Because the two goods are substitute. Okay? Right? Understand it?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So that's it. That's it. And that's all for today. So please read the textbook and do the problem set number 1. Okay. Next time we're going to look at some question in the problem set number 1. All right. So let's finish. Any question? Do you have any question?
No question.
All right. So thank you. All right. See you. Let's say see you next week. All right. Enjoy the weekend. Okay. Goodbye.
See you.